Hey everyone, welcome to week 5 of the Regifting series. I've really enjoyed this series, and when I say that, I'm not saying, man, I really enjoyed getting up there and preaching. Really, what I've really enjoyed, what I've been learning. I'm enjoying what I'm discovering. I'm really enjoying setting aside the season to focus so intently on Jesus. What are the things that you are learning? What are the things that are inspiring you? What are the things that are challenging you? Talk about that with your group. And so as we just wrapped up week 5 and we focused on Jesus's interaction with this unnamed woman at the well, there are a few things that I want to draw out, and there are a few things that I'd love for you guys to chat about together. One, it's interesting that she's never named. I'd love to know her name, but maybe that's intentional. Maybe it's because this woman serves as a stand-in for every person who knows what it's like to not be seen, but to only be viewed as a label. Maybe this woman serves as a stand-in for everyone who knows what it's like to be seen through the lens of just being different. And all the things about her, her social status, her gender, her ethnicity, all of those things conspired to motivate almost everyone in her world to be indifferent towards her. As a matter of fact, it seems pretty clear that the disciples of Jesus were just predisposed to be indifferent towards her. But Jesus didn't see the label, although he was aware. Jesus didn't see the differences, although he was aware. Jesus saw her. And in the same way that he sees her, he sees you and he sees me. He saw who she was and he engaged her on a personal level because he loved her. And that's amazing. And so one of the things that I'd love for you to talk about, this might require a little bit of bravery. This might require, okay, I got a little bit of fear and I'm gonna jump over this. Isn't it just true that all of us have times where maybe there are, as a person or a group of people or whatever, that we just are indifferent to? Maybe it's not because we're intentionally trying to be indifferent, and maybe it's not because we're horrible people. Maybe it's because we just don't have the emotional energy, but maybe thinking about Jesus' interaction with this woman shined a light on some people or some things that we're just like, oh, maybe I'm a bit indifferent to this person or to this group, and I don't want to be because that's not the way that my Savior is. We started off this message by asking the question, what is the greatest enemy? What's the greatest potential threat to your ability and my ability to be loving? I'm curious what came to mind when I asked that. I'm curious if anybody was surprised when I suggested maybe it's indifference. And there's a powerful quote from Elie Wiesel, who was a Holocaust survivor, who said, the greatest enemy to love is not hate, it's indifference. And what we see in Jesus is, while everyone else in the world seemed to be indifferent to this woman, Jesus was not. So his disciples showed up, and they're concerned about Jesus having lunch, which I think this is great. They want to make sure that he's well fed, but Jesus is ready to go. He's energized about reaching people, and he begins to talk about the harvest, and he turns to his disciples and he says, listen, I got food that you don't know about. And what he was saying is, I am energized, I am nourished, I am fulfilled by being united with God the Father and reaching people. That's what harvest terminology is about, being able to reach people. And not only was Jesus revealing something about himself, I think he was also exposing something about the disciples. Not only about this person are you a tad indifferent, but when it comes to the harvest in general and really reaching people, maybe you're not as in tune with me as you need to be. Maybe you guys are a tad indifferent. And if we are going to be like Jesus, if we're going to be wrapped up to look like Jesus, we have to be wrapped up in the things that Jesus is wrapped up in, and he loves people. He wants to reach people. He wants us to be passionately and intentionally engaged in the harvest. And so maybe that's something for you guys to talk about in your group. What's your passion level? What's your intentionality level? How are you praying for that? How are you engaging in that? Maybe it's a way for your small group to rally together and just pray for our church, that our church would be a place that experiences a harvest. Maybe in your circle of friends where you work, whatever is going on in your world, that God would use you to help others come to know him. That would be a great thing to talk about. That'd be a great thing to pray for. Now, there was something else in John chapter 4 that really just jumped off the page at me as I was reading through it, studying for it, and thinking about this series that we're in. It's just a powerful moment where some men from this village go to the Samaritan woman and say, listen, we're not just following Jesus because of what you said. We have now discovered him for ourselves. Isn't that the heartbeat of every single person who is taking this message series seriously? When we talk about we are the wrapping paper that people have to get through to get to Jesus, isn't that an example of these guys saying, listen, you helped us see Jesus, but now we are all about him. We are wrapped up in him, not simply because of you. You got it started, but now we have experienced him for ourselves. People who take seriously what it means to follow Jesus will be jacked up about that. Will be passionate about that, will be excited about that, will be addicted to God using them, God using us to help other people come to know Jesus. It is my prayer, and I hope it's yours too, that God would use us to cause other people to fall in love and follow Jesus. So talk about that, pray about that, and we'll see you next week.